in the heart of Beer City, USA. Two men, one journey to create a sports show unlike any other. Unfiltered, raw, and honest. One of them played a soccer goalie opposite Ben Stiller. The other once scored 6 points on Steph Curry. These guys know their shit.
Let's go!
Tank Spencer, Jeremy Green, the Sportsocracy. Presented by Ingles Supermarkets. Low prices, love the savings.
And welcome into the Sportsocracy. It is Draftmas Day.
Oh, I'm dreaming of a slotty Draftmas, just like the ones I used to know.
Welcome into the Sportsocracy. Today is the big day. NFL Draft 2023.
The final mock has been submitted. The top 100 is in. The gifts are waiting under the Draftmas tree. Drafting clause has been here. It's time to go.
Is your team going to get what they need in tonight's NFL draft in the first round of the draft? Don't forget, you can join us live down at the Village Porch. 51 North Merriman Avenue. We'll be there live for every pick tonight. We'll be there for every pick tomorrow night as well.
And we didn't even tell you this, but we're going to be doing this show, live from there tomorrow. It's a Draftmas miracle.
It is indeed. We will be there, and you should be there with us. If you can't be, you can, of course, stream it on the YouTube. Just go to thesportsocracy.com, click the live video link. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and you can join us in the chat during the live broadcast. Every pick of the NFL Draft live here in the Sportsocracy. Now, it is time for Flostradamus Jeremy Green's final first-round mock draft.
It's the final mock down. Doo-doo. I am so heavily caffeinated, sleep-deprived, and you know what I'm ready for? 17 domestic lights. Just that's the over-under for tonight.
He's already going to be he's tapping into it as we speak. Carolina Panthers, they have the number 1 overall pick.
I'd be remiss if I didn't do that.
We all know what it's going to be. It's no different in your
This
mock.
is the least drama of anything that we've ever had. Are you hitting your little button?
With the first pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers will select Bryce Young, quarterback, Alabama.
This, to me, was a no-doubter over a month ago. There was the talk about Will Levis. I don't care. To me, this has been set in stone for as long as you could possibly imagine. Scott Fitterer has basically alluded to it multiple times. He comes in, and I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care about the size. The size doesn't bother me. 10 years ago, it might have bothered me. Now you have to hit a quarterback in a way so as to not mess up their eyebrows, and then you have to lay a pillow on the ground to make sure that they have a really soft landing. So I just really don't care that he's only 5'10", only 203 pounds, smallest quarterback drafted in the modern era. I don't care. This would have mattered way more in the past. This kid is hyper intense, hyper competitive, really accurate. I do not love the Drew Brees comparison because I don't think it's apt. To me, he is young Russell Wilson. That's what you're getting. With, to me, a markedly better arm, and I think he's every bit as athletic.
Mm-hmm. I heard, I heard this the other day, and I can't get away from it. Not saying that he is the next Patrick Mahomes, but he does remind me a lot of Patrick Mahomes. The way he's able to keep his awareness in the pocket, find the breakdown in the play. Now, that's not going to happen as much at the NFL level probably as it happened at Texas, but I still just keep going back to that rally or at Alabama and the rally against Texas. He just finds a way to make it work.
He's a fantastic player. If he was in C.J. Stroud's body, if he was in Anthony Richardson's body, if he was in Will Levis's body, we wouldn't so much as even talked about this because the tape is really, really clear. Bryce Young's the best quarterback in this class. He would have been the best quarterback in several of the last 10 classes. So this is not just, it's a weak class. This is the best. No, he is an elite quarterback prospect. And I'm frankly tired of hearing people say otherwise.
All right, the number 2 pick belongs to the Houston Texans. Will they do it? Will they steer clear of a quarterback and go defense, the number 2 pick, the Houston Texans will select Tyree Wilson, edge rusher from Texas Tech.
I cannot wait for tonight because I'm telling you, I'm as confident that this is where they're going right now as I have been at any point in the process.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait for that name to come out of Roger Goodell's mouth and people around the draft to go, what? What is this trailer park franchise doing?
It will get booed mercilessly.
So this is what I have been told about the thinking of the Houston Texans. They believe the upside with his hand in the dirt, 4-man front in the D'Amico Ryans defense is higher than Will Anderson. And now I'm going to say something that it may catch you off guard. I don't disagree with them. I don't. I like Will Anderson standing up, or I like him in a wide 9, or I like him with a – there are a slew of ways that I think Will Anderson can work. Here's what I don't like. I'm going to a situation where I'm the best player on this defense. It's not close. The secondary's not good outside of Jalen Petrie and what I think Derek Stingley's going to be. I have to get the burst and the flexibility of Tyree Wilson. He is infinitely more flexible than Will Anderson, excuse me. He can play on the inside. He can play on the outside. There's some people who think he can stand up. He is very reminiscent of Trayvon Walker last year. It's the versatility of him that people are falling in love with. And I have been told that the Houston Texans are in love with Tyree Wilson. If he is not the pick, which I will tell you, there is no less than a 25% chance that he's not, it will be because they didn't clear the medical. I was told by somebody that, trust me, would know, they have been down to Will Anderson and Tyree Wilson for a solid 2 weeks. There are a lot of people in the room that really love Tyree Wilson. They would love to trade down if that was out there. It's not. The medical is what is scaring the ones that don't love him. So if those scouts, if that end of the room wins out, there is a possibility this is Will Anderson. But it's not as insane as people are going to make it out to be.
He fits the D'Amico Ryans scheme.
He fits practically any scheme. You've been really down on Tyree Wilson, and I don't know if I have done a disservice to you or if the industry on the whole has done that. He was never getting out of the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up. And if he's on the board for Arizona, he ain't getting out of the top 3 either. Houston bypasses him. Arizona stuck at 3. I fully believe they will happily go to the podium and take Tyree Wilson.
It's just I never saw it. I never saw the absolute dominance that you would expect from a number 2 pick out of Tyree Wilson. I did see it from Will Anderson, but
you also have to look at what was around Will Anderson.
I get it. And when I heard because I read something similar to what you just said with the D'Amico Ryans scheme, it makes all the sense in the world.
Mm-hmm. They've compared him to Joey Bosa. Straight up. In the room, they have compared him to Joey Bosa.
Mm-hmm.
Or Nick Bosa, excuse me.
Bosa.
Nick Bosa, the one that was in San Francisco. I'm very tired. Okay, so if they ain't in this class and I mess their name up, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is he Nick Bosa? I don't think so. Could that be his ceiling? Maybe in this scheme. Maybe in the scheme.
With his length, he is freakishly long. The pass rush ability is certainly there. I'm going to say it again. This is not as crazy as it sounds.
It's not as crazy as it sounds unless you think of it in the sense of will they do the smart thing here? Take a guy for your new coach's scheme, a guy that the new coach really likes. Or will Nick Caserio just do whatever he wants to? That's the question. Number 3 pick, the Arizona Cardinals. Paris Johnson Jr., offensive tackle from Ohio State. This is completely off the board because we've all been assuming that this is either going to be a traded pick or Will Anderson. Why Paris Johnson?
So this has been bubbling under the surface for, I'll say, the better part of the last 2 weeks, that there was somebody in on Paris Johnson. He is now clearly the number 1 offensive tackle in this class. He's going to go in the top 10. And then it's been kind of reading tea leaves. Then a report came out of Arizona day before yesterday that if Kyler Murray has his way, he's going full draft day of it's Paris Johnson no matter what.
So Kyler's making the pick.
I'm not going to say Kyler's making the pick. I think there is some aversion to Will Anderson with Arizona. And Arizona, and you can pretty easily read the tea leaves of I haven't had Will Anderson landing in Arizona many times because it's just not a match that I hear a lot. Doesn't mean it won't happen. There's just something about him that I don't necessarily think they're enamored with. And this is a new front office, a new regime getting off on the right page with their quarterback. Do I think it's insane to take him this high? No, I don't.
He's one of the safest players.
He's the best offensive tackle in this class, depending. There are some variants to me with that, and there's a player whose name you're not going to hear, which is confounding me.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I like Paris Johnson. He really crushed the process. He's hyper athletic. I mean, look, there are people that think he's Jonathan Ogden. I mean, if that's what you think you're getting, I totally understand why you're doing this. And I know there are several teams that really like him. Now, could this be smoke? Because they are doing everything in their power to trade out of this pick. They would love to get out of 3. I just don't see that it's coming. I don't know that you're going to move up for a Paris Johnson when you still got a Broderick Jones on the board who has, I'll say equivalently as high of an upside. His floor is much more terrifying. I don't think that's going to happen. Plus, you got 3 corners that it's beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I don't think anybody's trading up for these quarterbacks. If they were, they would have already done it. So, yeah, to me, I think Arizona gets stuck here at 3, and they take the player that they're unanimous on. That is what I've been told out of Arizona. There is unanimous consensus. This is the best offensive lineman in this class, and it's not close to them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that win out over the Will Anderson talk? It's entirely possible. Look, I've said this through the whole process. There are people that are not as high on him as we think they should be.
Again, I think this is the safer play here, kind of like with the Houston pick, which makes me wonder, will they do it? Because this franchise just seems to step on its own tail every chance it gets.
Well, the safer play is Will Anderson, period.
You think so?
No doubt. His floor is exponentially higher than Tyree Wilson or Paris Johnson.
Is he as good as does he play the Hassan Reddick role in that Josh Gannon defense?
Jonathan Gannon.
Or Jonathan Gannon, excuse me.
If they were to draft him, I believe so. And I don't think they value that as much as people think. Hassan Reddick was a great value for them.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of – that's another thing you got to think about here. Something that I've always found kind of comical about how people do mocks. Where is this draft strong? What are the strong positions in this draft? You've heard me talk about it for months now.
Wide receiver.
No. Nobody's as high on the – it's deep at wide receiver, but it's not – the high-end talent's not there. It's really good at edge. I mean, you could have 10 edge rushers go in the first round, and it wouldn't shock me in the least. And there's going to be a slew of them go when? In the first 5 to 10 picks of the second round. There's too many edge guys here. So if they're looking at that going, what does the tackle we get in round 2 look like in comparison to Paris Johnson? What does the edge rusher we get look like in comparison to Will Anderson?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just go ahead and tell you, here's the difference. You could go Paris Johnson, Will McDonald, who I've been high on for 2 years, or you're going to go something that looks like Will Anderson, Steve Avila to play tackle. That's the discrepancy. And that's why this Paris Johnson thing is not as out of the realm of possibility as people probably think going in.
All right, with the number 4 pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, here sit the Indianapolis Colts. The pick is in, and we know who it's going to be. It's been the same guy it's been all the time. Will Levis, quarterback, Kentucky.
This is where the rubber meets the road. There's been a lot of gnashing of teeth of if C.J. Stroud's on the board. Well, Indy didn't expect him to be on the board. Let me just go ahead and tell you something that this is like the worst kept secret in all of Draftmas season and with all the analysts and experts. Yeah, they did. They expected C.J. Stroud to be here for the last month because Houston was Seacrest out. Arizona's not taking a quarterback, and trust me, we all know where the trade market is. Ain't nobody trading into the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they make a huge, just hard right turn from tonight from everything they've done for the last 2 months, and I don't see it coming. So they got comfortable with Will Levis, and they've been positioning you for this for some time. Why do you think it's floating that Houston could take him at 2? Why do you think it's floating that Carolina had some interest in him at 1? It's Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
They're positioning this for, see, we're not the only ones. We're not the only ones that are in love with this kid's arm. We know that the tape, he got sacked a lot. There were fumbles, there were interceptions. Raw talent, he's the second best quarterback in this class. I've been on that from Jump Street. Haven't waffled, not nary a time. And neither is Indianapolis. They view him as their version of Jalen Hurts. They know they're not going to pass the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. There is nothing they can do that will lead to this team being better in a one-year vacuum than Jacksonville. What they think is that over the course of this year, next offseason, they can build an offense around him, because I'm telling you, it's not a given that Will Levis starts week 1. There is a better than 0 chance Gardner Minshew's the starter of this team week 1. And they bring Will Levis along slowly with the intention of going to get, there is a player in next year's draft who has the same name as one of the best players in the history, Marvin Harrison Jr. You see what it did there?
It makes too much sense, yeah.
Put it this way, I'm not the first one to come up with that. And I think that's how this franchise goes. Look, going into next year, there's going to be a lot of feeling out here. And I'm not particularly sure that this team doesn't go 5-12, 6-11, somewhere in there. There's definitely a path to that.
Mm-hmm.
They're picking high next year. You add the weapon. Now you got Pittman. And even if it's not Marvin Harrison, he's not the only receiver in that draft next year. So you add the pieces around them. You get the line right. You get the defense right under the new scheme. To me, this is a home run. To me, this is an A+. To me, it's the only thing you can do if you're the Indianapolis Colts. And they've made that perfectly clear, if you will listen to what they're saying.
You are in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM and 1400. We'll be back at the Ingles studio right after this and pick it up with pick number 5 in the Seattle Seahawks.
The Sportsocracy.
The ceiling is the roof. Let's make it happen. Let's keep moving forward.
Welcome back into Draftmas Day coverage here in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville.
Prospects sitting in a green room, waiting on their phone to ring.
Another snippet of a Draftmas classic from Flostradamus. Jeremy Green, we are in the midst of the final mock draft before tonight's big night.
Oh, felt so good to do the final mock. Just, we're good. Okay, we're good. And then I remembered, I'd do a second, third round mock tonight after the first round is done.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't quite able to scrub the decks yet, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
At number 5, the Seattle Seahawks sit on the clock, and this has to
They wouldn't sit long.
I was going to say, this has to be one of those scenarios where they will happily
Sprint.
run to the podium to make this next selection. At number 5 in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Will Anderson, edge rusher, Alabama.
This will be a really easy selection for him. I think it's the probably the safest place that he's got. I mean, he's not going past 5. I've seen some people putting him at 6 to Detroit, and I don't buy that. I don't think there's any way that Seattle would bypass him, even for Jalen Carter, even if they feel good about the personality red flags. Mm-hmm. Will Anderson is going to be a good edge rusher in this league. The problem is that there are a lot of people that when you discuss him, they use that word. It's good. It's not necessarily great. We saw him be great at Alabama. And then you look at everything that was around him and the fact that he was coached by Nick Saban and the fact that there is a long track record of Alabama, especially defensive players, going into the NFL and never getting any better. And that's the problem, is that I'm not sure you haven't seen 100% of what Will Anderson's got. That's the reason the Texans, I think, are intoxicated by Tyree Wilson. He wasn't coached by Nick Saban. And it's at least debatable which one's better on tape on the high side right now. Will Anderson's much more consistent. He's much better against the run. I just think he might be limited to exactly what he is right now. Now, I think that comes in the league and is a top 10 to 15 edge rusher. He just may never get better than that. If you're Seattle, you're ecstatic with that. Because now I've got Jamal Adams. I've got Nwosu that we added last year. I feel like you're going to add a linebacker at some point over the course of the next 2 days. And now that defense with Tariq Woolen is really, really starting to round into shape.
Mm-hmm. They'll be happy to make that pick.
No doubt. They'd be the happiest team in the NFL.
And then at number 6, the Detroit Lions will do the same thing.
Followed very closely by the Detroit Lions.
And it'll be with the 6th. Okay, we got it. Detroit Lions, you're going to select Jalen Carter, defensive tackle for the University of Georgia.
This is one of the, and I've heard a bunch of people over the last few days say, well, you hear more facts in the last few days before the draft than you hear smoke. A, that's not true. B, you have to just be able to wade through it. I've done this for a minute, so if there's something that doesn't really benefit anybody, it becomes easy to go, okay, there's probably some facts to that. I have been told the Detroit Lions are the absolute drop-dead spot for Jalen Carter. Whatever he said, they feel fine. Brad Holmes came out and said it, which you don't often hear. By the way, can I just, an aside here, how much I love Brad Holmes. Not just because he's a really smart NFL guy, not just because he's a really good evaluator of talent, but because he's honest. And he comes to the diocese and says what he thinks and says what he means and does what he says. And I love that. Now, in terms of the player, I have said I do not think he is the Warren Sapp comparisons outside of they play the same position and they went to the same high school. End of message, repeat the line. That is not what this kid is. I have said I think he is more Jeffrey Simmons than he is Warren Sapp. That's still really, really good. And I think you add him to Detroit where he's going to be able to move up and down the line. He'll play on the inside in a 4-man front. I think he plays on the edge in a 3-man front. You got Aiden Hutchinson over top of him. Okay, that's now we're getting into this front 7 is getting real scary.
Mm-hmm. And getting as good as their offensive front, which is going to help them
Absolutely.
score all the points. The defense is going to help them keep the points to a minimum, and the Detroit Lions are quickly on the rise.
And it's really hard for me to say a team won a trade when the other team won a Super Bowl with the player they got. The Detroit Lions won this trade.
Number 7 pick belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders. Is this where we'll see a quarterback come off the board?
I have said this is where
Now I see you're interrupting the commissioner.
well, sorry, Commissioner. Sorry.
With the number 7 pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders, Devin Witherspoon, cornerback out of Illinois.
I know there are a lot of people that really like him. He has become the consensus number 1. I feel like the Raiders would take Paris Johnson. I think they're his floor at 7. And I've said, I believe the draft really starts there. I struggle to believe that you're going to have, outside of the first 6 that I just gave, and now Devin Witherspoon, I will almost promise you the first 6 picks come out of these 7 players. There's only one that's going to fall out, and whoever falls out is who goes to the Raiders. Unless it's Jalen Carter, because I have been told that they don't have him on the board. Whatever he said there did not go well.
You can't.
In Vegas?
PR nightmare.
Well, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
After the other, yeah.
You know, that's the first time I've put those 2 things together.
Yeah. You just
You're talking
can't-
about the Henry Ruggs thing, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You can't have a guy involved in a car crash that killed somebody racing after Henry Ruggs.
I hadn't even thought of that,
Not
to be
gonna
honest with you. But I look, Devin Witherspoon's a really sticky corner, very versatile. A lot of people, until they say, what changed with him, because I've been asked this a lot, we saw him work out. He ran the pro day. He actually ran. We saw all of the things, and then everybody went, oh, he does have that speed. Oh, he is that fast. No, we don't care because he looks good at, I think it's 181 pounds what he weighed in at. And so it took all of the aversions away. So now you're not projecting with Christian Gonzalez. You're not scheme specific with Joey Porter. Devin Witherspoon can do whatever I ask him to. The knock is that I only saw one high level of tape. It's not hard to go back and go, you realize a lot of that was with Lovie Smith, right? Brett Bielema showed up, and all of a sudden players get better. Weird. Good coaches show up, and good things happen. That I didn't feel like I'd ever have to explain that. And yet, with Devin Witherspoon, I have had to.
This has been a heck of an offseason for the Atlanta Falcons. They've added piece after piece after piece. What will they do at the number 8 spot? We'll bring it to you next, right here in the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville.
The Sportsocracy.
That is some good, clean family fun there, eh, Cot?
Welcome back into the Draftmas Special, the Draftmas Spectacular, if you will. Final mock draft before tonight's 2023 NFL Draft first round.
Grandma got runned over by Mel Kiper. Coming home to our house, Draftmas Eve.
You can follow each and every pick of the 2023 NFL Draft with us on the YouTube stream.
Every pick live for all 3 days. By the end of it, Tank Spencer may be legally in a place that he needs medical assistance.
Could possibly be, but you know, I know some folks. Hey, maybe we can call up our friends. They can bring some of their IV stuff, and we can have hydration IVs.
I think it's adorable that you didn't know I had already done that. There's ever a time that I need to be able to drink all the domestic lights and wake up and feel hunky-dunky the next day. It is Draftmas 2023.
All right, so we may be seeing the Coastal Wellness people here after a while. During the Draftmas coverage, you can watch us on YouTube. You can join us live at the Village Porch, 51 North Merriman Avenue, for tonight's first round. Tomorrow night's day 2 action. Saturday, you're on your own. We don't need an audience for the day 3 picks.
Well, Saturday, just things move very quickly, and you know there's a lot that goes into that. So we will be doing that from the nice nestled confines of my house. But you'll still be able to see us.
That's right.
Every pick.
That's right.
We're just not going to tell you where it is because some of you, according to what you say on Twitter, would like to do bad things to my house.
All right, final mock draft here by at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green. Number 8. The pick belongs to the Atlanta Falcons. And with the 8th pick, they could select Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas.
This has gained a lot of steam in the last probably 10 days. That, you know, look, they're looking around this team going, we know that at quarterback we have – well, it'd be nice. We have issues. I don't think they're in love with this class, but they are in love with Bijan Robinson, as well they should be, because he's a phenomenal player. And he would come in and be the bell cow, allow Tyler Algier to be a complimentary piece, and allow Cordero Patterson to be a complimentary piece, which at 31 years old is what he should be. Bijan's one of the best players in this draft. He just plays a very devalued position.
Already had the 3rd best rushing offense in the NFL last year. So,
and you mix that with what they've done on that defense, they're going to be a headache to deal with.
Some would see this as this is not a pick of need, and maybe not. Maybe it's not a pick of need. This is a pick of luxury.
Okay,
if I'm the 3rd best rushing offense in the league, why can't I be number 1?
And that's where I'm headed with. That's where I was headed with that. Is okay. So Tyler Algier rushed for 1,000 yards last year. What do you think Bijan Robinson will do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that makes it easier on Desmond Ridder.
That's right. Number 9, the Chicago Bears. Jeremy, you're convinced this pick's been locked in for a few days. Darnell Wright, offensive tackle from Tennessee.
If they can't have Paris Johnson and they can't have Jalen Carter, I think Darnell Wright's the guy. And I'm very much of the belief that neither one of them will be on the board. Even if these picks don't go in the order that I'm saying here, neither one of them is going to be on the board at 9. I have heard Darnell Wright attached to the Chicago Bears for as long as I can remember. I did not originally think that was going to be in the first round. I thought that would be a trade up into the back end of the first, and he has just surged up boards through the course of the process. I've had some people say, oh, he won't be ready for year 1. That's the beauty of him. He totally is. He's just never going to be a left tackle, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
He will be a high-level right tackle in this league, very long, and he fits what you're doing with Justin Fields, and even if you move on from that a year from now, it's not that he is so locked into I'm mobile enough to be the protector for a mobile quarterback. It doesn't really matter who the quarterback is. It just so happens that it's a really nice fit with Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm. And lowest pressure rate allowed in the Power 5 last year.
He's very, very good.
Good pick for the Chicago Bears. Number 10. We have a trade.
We have a trade.
Stop. Who's gonna break the news? No, I don't like this because I know where this is going. The Philadelphia Eagles reach a deal with
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Fire them cannons.
By golly, put more quarterback in those things.
Oh, we're going quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Tampa Bay trades up. What do we got to give up to get up here?
It's your 2 and your 5 this year. Philadelphia does not have a ton of picks, and they would like some more depth. I have heard if Jalen Carter's not on the board, there is a player they really like, who they still get in this move, that they can trade down, still get. There are 2 really that they would be after. Tampa Bay gets up here to get the quarterback that I've heard through the entire process that they are enamored with. It was just a problem of we're not giving up a first rounder next year because we don't know what we're going to be this year. So we're not absolutely going to kill ourselves draft capital wise. Look, this team's still talented.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Tom Brady left. It's not like they're bereft of talent. You just have a lot of Todd Bowles. And that means it hit the button.
I'm not announcing it. I'm not announcing it.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Do it.
Oh, I'm going straight Pat McAfee then. They lost the GOAT. The GOAT's dead, and he has left a big hole at quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And with the 10th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, they select quite possibly the most likely bust I've ever seen with the highest upside of all time. 2-time loser to the Florida State Seminoles, Anthony Richardson, quarterback out of Florida.
You did this just to piss me off, didn't you?
I did it just so, and I knew you weren't going to say Anthony Richardson's name, so I had prepared a word.
I don't like this,
and,
obviously.
And you know what's funny is when I showed it to you, I thought you were going to absolutely hate it, and then you talked yourself into liking it.
I did. You got to think about where this Bucs team is right now and who has taken over the offense. You got Canales has come from Seattle. If he wants to play that Russell Wilson type offense, this is not a bad way to do it.
It also makes the Baker Mayfield thing make an immense amount of sense because Anthony Richardson doesn't have to play year 1. And if things go horribly sideways, he comes in mid-year, you get 7-8 games to see what exactly it is that you have. There are a lot of teams that are really high on the upside. It's just I'm going to need receivers to throw to. Tampa Bay has that. Mm-hmm. I need a system that he fits in. Tampa Bay has that. And I'm going to need to be able to run the ball. We're going to have to work on that over the next 2 days. But I'll say I'm 60% convinced that the team that walks out of tonight with Anthony Richardson is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, this is the caveat is they have to not give up capital next year because they are adamantly refusing to do that. That's been the reason they haven't made a move yet. I think if Philadelphia gets on the board and there's no Jalen Carter and they've got those 2 that we will discuss at their pick that one of them's going to fall to us because of how the board is sitting, then I think they will do that and trade back to recoup a little capital.
And Tampa Bay gets hopefully the quarterback of the future. Swing and a miss on the Seminole a few years ago. Maybe the Florida Gator could get the job done.
Choke.
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Anyhow, like most of my Tampa Bay watching career, you just have to take the pill and swallow it. At number 11, the Tennessee Titans, and there is a quarterback sitting on the board for them at this pick. At number 11, the Titans select C.J. Stroud, quarterback out of Ohio State.
I am going to tell you something that I was told from a scout in the NFL within the last 24 hours. C.J. Stroud is going to have a fall much like Justin Fields because fans are more in love with him than we are. Where did Justin Fields get selected? Number 11. Ironic, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the drop dead for the last quarterback. I feel like 4 quarterbacks going in the top 11 tonight. I don't think there's a slide where Tampa Bay can sit where they are. There are too many teams that want to trade down. So if somebody has an affinity for a guy, they're going to have to make a move because somebody else will. Minnesota is lingering out there. Seattle's got an extra piece of draft capital. Detroit has an extra piece of draft capital. And the one thing you don't want to do is let one of those two teams get up there for nothing more than their mid-first round pick and an extra day two. Mm-hmm. Because this is a guy they can put in mothballs for a year. And if you bring these guys along slowly, they could be really, really good. Now, this is a projection. Tennessee is the only team that I actively know still has a top 10 grade on C.J. Stroud after everything has been said and done. He can also sit behind Ryan Tannehill for a year. And I think that's his best case scenario. A lot of people get duped by the tape. What you don't understand, and I don't know why this is so hard for people to understand, we've done this a bunch of times with Ohio State quarterbacks. The offense they run is basically crashing two Tonka toys into each other in a preschool floor compared to what an NFL offense looks like. Mm-hmm. These guys do not come in prepared with how to set up protections, how to run the checks, how to progress through the reads. C.J. Stroud doesn't know how to do it. I'm not telling you he can't. I'm just telling you he's going to have to basically learn a whole new language. I hate to use a line from our buddy Kreischer, but when he does the machine joke, and he says, I was taking tests in a language with which I was not familiar with, their alphabet. Do you know what it's like to answer questions and be making up hieroglyphics? That's kind of where C.J. Stroud's at. And that S2 test has confirmed that for every team in this league. But now if you're Tennessee and I can just sit here and let him fall in my lap, be patient for a year. They're out on Malik Willis. That is not the quarterback of the future. Let him learn for a year behind Tannehill. And then you progress on, and you have hope for the franchise.
You're in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville final mock draft here on the Draftmas Day Spectacular on ESPN Asheville.
The Sportsocracy.
These guys are a f***ing disgrace.
Welcome back into the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville. It is Draftmas Day.
Simply having a wonderful Draftmas time.
That's right. All the hits being sung by at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green on this greatest of days of the year. Tonight, we'll be live at 51 North Merriman Avenue, the Village Porch, for the first round of the NFL Draft. You can join us live. And, of course, you can watch us on the YouTube stream as well.
We will also be announcing how you get into this year's battle for the belt. And let me put it softly. If you thought last year was big, just wait. There's more.
It's going to get aggressive for the fantasy football season. And next guy that might be a guy that you're in on for your fantasy team next year. Coming up next in the final mock draft by Flostradamus at number 12. It's the Houston Texans back on the clock after taking Tyree Wilson, the edge rusher out of Texas Tech, at number 2. At number 12,
Jackson Smith-Njigba, wide receiver, Ohio State. Now, I'm going to give you a little birdie told me, okay?
Okay.
I have been told if a quarterback falls to 12, don't be shocked if Houston takes them. Because they feel fine with all of them at 12. They just can't take them at 2.
Please let that be Anthony Richardson.
No, he's going to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you'll have his jersey within an hour.
Just any way.
You'll be ordering it on the live stream tonight. Don't you mess around, okay?
What is Jackson Smith-Njigba's ceiling in the NFL?
Ceiling? He's got a reasonably high ceiling. I mean, because I think he can be a really good deep threat from the slot. He's just going to have to learn to run an NFL route. I've been told that he is the clear one. As we've gone through the process, he's past Quentin Johnston. He's past Jordan Addison. Zay Flowers is the closest to him. But he is the one. And Houston sees him as a weapon for the long-term quarterback. And they know if it's not Anthony Richardson, if it's not C.J. Stroud, they're going to be bad enough to take Caleb Williams or Drake May next year. They get things in place. They view him as their Deebo Samuel. He's going to be the guy we manufacture touches for. And with the ball in his hand, he is so dynamic that a year from now, it will help whoever our quarterback is. Houston knows they're at least a year away.
I was going to say the other question might be, what's his ceiling with the Houston Texans?
Yep.
Those could be two completely different stories.
They are one team that thinks he can play on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of teams have him specifically as a slot receiver. The Texans think he can play on the outside.
At number 13, the pick that used to belong to the New York Jets, of course, now belongs to the Green Bay Packers in the Aaron Rodgers trade. New York will be coming up at 15, so Green Bay moves up 2 spots in the first round.
And I told you yesterday, there was a reason they did this, and it took some sleuthing, but I figured it out, and some of you are not going to like it.
At number 13, the Green Bay Packers, in the wake of the Aaron Rodgers trade, will select Dalton Kincaid, the tight end out of Utah.
New England is hot on Dalton Kincaid. It's the only player they have in common. I have called anybody that would know, and that's the only name I've heard. And it seems like every smart person I know has had Dalton Kincaid in the mock they put out after this trade. Now, do I think Michael Mayer is more of a complete tight end? I do. I've had Darnell Washington with this team as long as I can remember. But I'm not going to be shocked if you take a pass catcher. If Njigba was there, I would think it was him.
Mm-hmm.
But this does make it make sense. Is it possible I'm going 2 3-dimensional chess and I missed the fact that I just left my king wide open? Maybe. Wouldn't be the first time. Can promise you it won't be the last. But I cannot for the life of me think this was one of the hang-ups, that you flip spots with the Jets and there wasn't somebody that you feared either the Jets or the Patriots taking.
Mm-hmm.
I know who the Jets are taking. I think that's the worst kept secret on the planet. And I just don't see Green Bay taking a tackle at 13. I don't think they did this for a tackle.
May not be their most pressing need at the moment.
I would say tight end's probably the biggest need on this team.
No, I'm saying tackle.
Oh, no.
May not be the most pressing need that they have right now. But
well, you have two very mobile pieces that can play tackle in Elgton Jenkins and Zach Tom. So to me, that's one of the reasons I can't imagine this being a tackle.
Yeah.
Plus, they haven't invested high-level capital in that in a long time.
What have we said since this all became, eventual? Even before the deal became official, we knew that Green Bay was going to put a focus on putting some pieces around their quarterback in Jordan Love because he's not that good, because he's not Aaron Rodgers.
Correct.
He needs help. So this makes sense for them. Dalton Kincaid at number 13. Number 14, the New England Patriots, now losing out on Dalton Kincaid when they already have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki. So where do you tap dance to go to now? Do you take Michael Mayer or do you do something different? At number 14, the New England Patriots in the 2023 NFL Draft could select Nolan Smith, the edge rusher out of Georgia.
I really had to lean on contacts for New England because I'm not going to lie to you. If there's any team that I will just throw my hands up and say, I don't know, it's Bill. Because Bill does weird things in the draft. Took Cole Strange last year when none of us had better than a third-round grade on him. So this is one of those, and I'm going to tell you, this is not a secret. This is readily available information. You get 30 visits with prospects.
Mm-hmm.
5 of their 30 were with edge rushers that are going to go in the top 50.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care what you think their biggest need is. They're making it abundantly clear to you what they think their biggest need is. They feel like they're going to have to win games with defense. Do I agree with that? Not particularly.
Really? They can't do it with their offense.
I would not be taking Nolan Smith right here.
I was going to say, you can't do it with your offense.
Well, now that part I agree with. I just don't know. I will also tell you this. If Bijan Robinson is on the board, wouldn't be shocked if they took him.
Mm-hmm.
And then just really turned into a ground and pound, beat you with the run game, beat you with the defense. Just looking around the division going, we are the worst offense in the division by a mile.
Yep.
So we're just going to have to do something different.
This makes a lot of sense.
Bill
Belichick likes, veteran type, leader players.
He's also just so hybrid. I feel like he can play inside of a 3-4. I feel like he can play off-ball linebacker in a 4-3. I feel like he can put his hand in the dirt in a wide 9-4 man front. He's the ultimate chess piece.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the Pittsburgh Steelers are hot on him, and I can tell you the Philadelphia Eagles are hot on him because this is one of the players they were counting on being there when they picked at 19. This is a gut feeling for me. They brought in Nolan Smith, and he's the piece that most fits Bill.
I think it would be an absolute home run for them to add a guy like Nolan Smith. If you can't do it with your offense, you're going to have to scare people on the defensive side of the ball.
And he's a fantastic player to do that.
Absolutely.
You're just going to have to figure out what position he plays. Or you're going to have to be Bill and use him as the ultimate chess piece and play him in 9 different positions because he can do that.
I got to take a break for the top of the hour Sports Center update. When we come back, we will pick it up with, oh, no, it's almost like we planned it this way.
Jets, Jets.
It is the final mock draft by Flostradamus Jeremy Green here in the Sportsocracy. Happy Draftmas Day.
He's a degenerate gambler,
You are a smelly pirate hooker.
and he's cheaper than oxygen.
He's useless.
But somehow, they make it work. Jeremy Green, Tank Spencer. There's no holding back in the Sportsocracy, presented by Ingles Supermarkets.
This is the Sportsocracy on ESPN Asheville, 92.9 FM, 880 AM, and 1400, and it is Draftmas Day.
I don't want a lot for Draftmas.
We are but 3 hours away from the start of the 2023 NFL Draft.
There is just one thing I need.
All you need to do is be with us in the Sportsocracy on YouTube.
All I want for Draftmas is you.
We will cover each and every pick live of the first round tonight from the Village Porch, North Merriman Avenue, 51 North Merriman Avenue to be exact. Just so you know where to come and find us, because we encourage you all to join us down at the Village Porch for tonight. If you can't make tonight, we give you another chance tomorrow night. We'll be there live as well, streaming on YouTube again. And we'll have all the picks covered on YouTube on Saturday. We'll be doing that from Jeremy's house, though, and, you know, capacity is limited.
Which means that I could be a sleepy time very quickly after the draft is over.
I think we run that danger, that danger, though, of 6th round on Saturday. Tank just takes a nap during the 6th round.
Nope, bet you don't. Bet you don't.
All of the picks live here, and, of course, we are in the midst of our final mock draft at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green putting this together. This is his official submission into the media contest with the likes of Mel Kiper and Todd McShay and Daniel Jeremiah and all those other ones.
Great longevity, great height, weight, speed.
And we left off, of course, with the 15th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft.
Jets, Jets.
The New York Jets will select
Broderick Jones, offensive tackle, Georgia. I don't know that there's a pick I'm more confident of in this draft, and I'm not sure that I love it.
Why?
Well, because you already have Dwayne Brown. You already have Mekhi Becton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what happens if they're both healthy? Then what we do with Broderick Jones?
Broderick can take the job away from Mekhi Becton.
He is not better than Mekhi Becton.
I feel like he can be. And with the fact that he only plays 11 snaps a year and then gets hurt.
That's the thing. Is
right.
That now, this gives you a nice buffer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think – my thought is that Mekhi would start on the left side because there is a scuttlebutt around the New York Jets operation that they believe that the move to the right side is actually what put more stress on Mekhi's knee, and it's why he never played last year.
Mm-hmm.
I like this kid. He's just really raw. There's the upside is tantalizing, and if you have Mekhi Becton and Broderick Jones at the tackle spots, you better be real fast because you're not going to outpower them.
Mm-hmm. Very agile, got good size for a right tackle.
Long arms, something you want in your offensive tackle in this league.
You got 6'5", 311 Broderick Jones. He's pretty swift. He used to be a basketball player.
Well, he's very mobile. He fits this offense really nicely. I know the Jets really like him. And this would be the point where we start talking about it's 15 and Peter Skoronski still hasn't gone off the board. Yet.
You're going to be waiting a while
Yeah, it's
if you
gonna
want
be a
to hear
minute.
his name. At number 16, this is the Washington Commanders pick. And it's Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback out of Oregon. We were talking about him in the top 10 for most of the process.
And he could still go that high. There's just if you follow the betting markets and you really you pay attention to what people are trying to tell you, there's some fall in him. And I'm not 100% sure I understand it, but he's not getting past Washington. He comes in as your one. I think he would be a great value pick for them. And, I mean, you're right. We were talking about him in the top 10.
Screaming to the podium. Washington will take whatever corner is left on the board at this point.
And we've known one would be there. We just didn't expect there would be two.
Right. They would be happy to take Joey Porter Jr. here. But if Christian Gonzalez were to fall, like you said,
They'll be much
excellent
happier
value.
with Christian Gonzalez.
Absolutely. Excellent value for Washington at the 16th pick. With the 17th pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers sitting on the board. And, who is the pick going to be? So lazy. Joey Porter Jr.
It's really not lazy because he fits their scheme tremendously. Would learn a lot from Patrick Peterson. I mean, just think about that pass rush with these two on the outside. I mean, Peterson's going to be your one. You can play Joey Porter as the two and let him just learn at the foot of the master for 2 years. Then he takes over as your one. He's a legacy player. Your fan base is going to absolutely love this. I have been told they are really hot on Nolan Smith. And if he were to fall here, that would be the pick. I'm just not sure he's going to. He could. There's been some rumor they could trade up, but I don't buy it. Well, with how hot Chicago is on Darnell Wright, I don't think they're going down to 17. Because you will not get him there.
Right. At number 18, the Detroit Lions have their second pick of the draft, getting Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia, with the number 6 pick. How about at 18, they add another defensive piece. Emmanuel Forbes, cornerback, Mississippi State.
This is a name that's screamed up the board the last handful of weeks. I have now been told there are teams that have Emmanuel Forbes ahead of Joey Porter.
Wow.
There are teams that have Emmanuel Forbes ahead of Christian Gonzalez. If you follow the betting markets, he is actively minus 500 to go in the first round. That is almost pull it off the board territory. So he's going to go here somewhere. Detroit's really hard to figure out with their second first-round pick. They didn't bring anybody in the building that fits right there. So you start looking at the visits and the guys that they've been linked to and talked to at the combine. I mean, you got Adetomiwa Adebawore, who is, I think, going to go early in the second round. I've had him in the back end of the first. I'm not confident enough, and I'm certainly not confident enough at 18. Bijan, if he's here, that would certainly be that would be a guy to talk about.
He'll be gone and long gone.
I think he will. There's a possibility he falls. Look, this is a very up in the air. This is one of the few years I've ever had a mock draft where I just went, this could end badly. This could be, I could be taking red marker to this thing early. But I really like Emmanuel Forbes, and I think he's going to be an Aaron Glenn kind of guy. Just because he's got the length, he's got the ability. It's thin. He has the same problem as Devin Witherspoon. He's a little bit thin, and some teams don't know. Well, I mean, it's the beauty for Detroit. You've got two vet guys that he can learn from. You don't have the investment that you did with Jeff Okudah, and he's just a really good cover guy. And I think with the pass rush you're going to have with Jalen Carter and Aiden Hutchinson, it really helps your back half.
Now, this is another part where it made me feel better about the Tampa trade from 19 up to 10 to get Anthony Richardson. Do I love that? No, not necessarily. But if we sat at 19, I'd want one of the cornerbacks. They're all gone now. All the cornerbacks, first-round cornerbacks have been gone, so maybe this will work out that way.
And you would have the same problem of Skoronski doesn't fit what you want to do.
And then your second option was a tackle. There's still one left that you've been linked to.
I just think,
but I think I'd rather have the high side of Anthony Richardson.
19's rich for Anton Harrison.
Absolutely. So at number 19, the Philadelphia Eagles trading back from 10 with Tampa, who traded up to get Anthony Richardson. The Philadelphia Eagles sit here and get the edge rusher Lucas Van Ness out of Iowa.
This is the second player that they were targeting. I know Lucas Van Ness is going in the first round. You could tell me it was anywhere from 10 to 30, and I would probably believe you because I just don't get a good read on how people feel about him. Some teams really like him. Some think he's going to be a guy that you can move up and down the line. You play him in pass rush situations on the interior, and he's just going to be a bulldog of a pass rusher on the outside. Others think he will never be more than a situational pass rusher, and they see him much like they see Will McDonald. Those are guys that are hard to project. The one team that I know he met with, and both sides were really impressed with each other, was Philadelphia. That is how the trade – I don't do a lot of trades in mocks, which is ironic that I say that as I'm talking about one and getting ready to do another one with the next pick. But they have to fit on all sides. And what you just sounded out there is exactly where I think Tampa Bay is at, because they have said we don't want to give up the chance to get a tackle. Well, if we're overdrafting the tackle, what does it matter?
Right.
If we're going Matthew Bergeron.
There's one more tackle name that we have not mentioned in this first round that could make sense, but
you want to go Peter Skoronski
what
there?
the hell happened with Peter Skoronski?
Too many teams view him as a guard, and they don't view him as a guard that is above Osiris Torrance. And so one of the things that has become a really good indicator for me for the guy's going to fall. Now, he could go in the top 10. I do not think that's going to happen. I would say it's probably more possible that one of these teams that you don't necessarily see line as a primary need is going to go, the value's too good here. I just couldn't put him with any of them. Mm-hmm. And when we go through the process, I'll tell you why.
But is this more of the thing we had a couple of years ago or you had with Rashawn Slater a couple of years ago? He's a guard, he's a guard, he's a guard.
No, this is a little different. He's not. And I think where I got, I'm not going to say duped. I love Skoronski. He's in my top 10 in terms of players. So when I submitted the top 100, he was at 9 for me. So I love the talent. I view him as a tackle. Yeah. Teams don't. They think he's going to come in and be a guard, and they don't want to take – nobody's in love with him.
Right.
Those guys almost invariably fall. That's the Geno Smith rule. When everybody gives you a lukewarm response on a guy, you watch him fall. And that's where I'm at with Skoronski.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, if he is a guard, then that means, hey, Stephen Tao, Baltimore could take him coming up soon. So
I'll bet they don't.
Stick around. You could get a guard. He hated that in the mock draft.
That's well he should if it was awful.
I did. So Lucas Van Ness goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. He can come in and be the pass rusher that they want in this defense. Number 20, we have another trade. Kansas City Chiefs traded up
from 31 to 20 with Seattle. Seattle gets a second-day pick and another piece in day 3. Seattle loves to trade down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is anybody they're in love with at 20 that they can't get at 31. This works out perfectly for them because they get exactly the guy I'm told that they're hot on. Is it doubling up at a position? It is. But they've brought in so many edge rushers that I can't help but think there's a possibility you're conspiring something.
All right, so Seattle could trade back to get another edge rusher. Kansas City, what did they trade up to get? Well, with the 20th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, Kansas City Chiefs take Zay Flowers, wide receiver, Boston College.
This is a name that I have heard so many times attached to this team that I have to give credence to it. I think Zay Flowers is ultimately a Kansas City Chief. I can't tell you that they trade up with Seattle. If Seattle had stayed in place, they would have taken Osiris Torrance. That's where I'm at. There is another player that I know they like. It's going to sound a little strange when you add in the Will Anderson thing, but I'll explain it when we get there. Zay Flowers to them is their Tyreek Hill replacement. They think he is that good. And I'm not going to lie to you, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City does not have enough spots on the roster for how many picks they have. So to think they would be willing to give up the second-round pick, and I don't actually – I think it was the third-round pick. I'd have to go back and look, and I'll do that in the break. I don't believe it's a reach to say they're going to trade up to get Zay Flowers. And then that kicks off what can only be described as an absolute bounty of wide receivers.
With the 21st pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, you get the Los Angeles Chargers. The pick is in. Jordan Addison, wide receiver, USC.
I've been told by anybody that's been around the Chargers that they want to add speed to this offense. I do know they like Bijan Robinson. They are not going to trade up to get him. They like running backs in the second day. I'm not going to lie. I considered Mozzie Smith here. It ran through my mind, but I just can't quite get there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those fits that I have thought it every time we've done the mock of, man, Jordan Addison would fit nicely right there. Or, man, Zay Flowers would fit nicely right there. And I haven't gotten there as many times, but as many of these as I do, I mean, this is the 7th mock draft I've done over the course of the process. I've had Jordan Addison's name under the Chargers for every one of them. And it's shocking how many times you go through the process, you never really attach a guy to a team, and then when you get to the final one, you finally get the piece in place, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
This would be the ultimate takeover for Keenan Allen. He's a deep threat immediately, adds another layer to your offense. He's just always open. I mean, is he thin? Yeah, he's a slot receiver. And there are people that think he can play on the outside. But he gives you another over-the-top threat that's going to help you run the ball because you can't put that extra guy in the box. He's just too fast.
R.I.P. Josh Palmer.
I don't think it would be an R.I.P. Josh Palmer. I think it would be they'll play 4 of them this year, and then a year from now they move on from Keenan Allen. And then you have Palmer on the right because they still believe in him every bit as much as I do.
Mm-hmm.
You have Mike Williams on the left, and then Addison in the slot.
It is Draftmas Day, and this is the Draftmas Spectacular, the last mock draft by at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green, the official entry of the Sportsocracy into the media contest. We will continue up next. Pick number 22 is the Baltimore Ravens.
The Sportsocracy.
Pull up your pants, take off the bra, and be a man.
It's the night we've all been waiting for. Draftmas has arrived.
Have yourself a merry little Draftmas.
All picks of the NFL Draft will be covered live in the Sportsocracy. Just go to thesportsocracy.com, click the live video link, subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can join us for all of it. You'll get alerts every time that we go live. Over the weekend, it is going to be, 15 hours of non-stop coverage?
Yep, no commercials at all. We will be cutting our takes on prospects, putting those up individually. So if you can't sit around and watch 15 hours of content, but you still want to know what we think about the player your team drafted for the first, I'm going to say we'll do that for the first 2 days. Because, like day 3 could get a little intense on that. Mm-hmm. We will have team grades and all those things coming out next week. And then Jeremy's going on his own.
It's going to be a little bit of
I'm getting married in a few weeks, and it's I need it. I just need a break. I'm a sleepy boy.
And for the first time ever, you can join us live at the Village Porch, 51 North Merriman Avenue tonight for all of the picks. Or just a little bit. Just drop by, have a beer. Drop by, better yet, buy us a beer.
100%.
And then we'll be there as well tomorrow night for each and every pick. Plus, we're going to be doing the show live tomorrow from the Village Porch, 3 to 6 on ESPN Asheville. So don't miss that either.
It's all the things. It's just, we're simply having a wonderful Draftmas time.
Indeed. And we are going through the final mock draft by at ESPN Draft Nerd. He has submitted this into the media contest. And I mean, obviously, if you were able to win this thing, I mean, is there any money attached to it or just the fame of being able to say that you beat all of the great prognosticators that we follow?
I don't know, to be really honest with you. It's the first time they've ever invited me in. So, I'm rooting for myself. So, the way that's scored, you should hope that a lot of these players go to these teams, and that all of these players go in the first round.
At number 22, the Baltimore Ravens sit on the clock. Who will they take? Another wide receiver, the third in a row to go in this mock draft. Baltimore taking Quentin Johnson, wide receiver from TCU.
Look, I don't understand the smoke on Quentin Johnston. I just don't get it. I mean, yeah, he had some drop issues, didn't have the greatest game, the national title game. Well, nobody wearing purple did, okay? So I feel like the fact that I'm pretty confident he's going to be the fourth receiver taken, somebody's going to get great value. And if you think Baltimore is going to smooth things over with Lamar Jackson, which I will say there are rumblings behind closed doors over the last few days, that's how this is ultimately going to go. And that Baltimore is going to do something in the first round that makes Lamar feel more hunky-dunky about being a Raven. Well, that leads me to think it's got to be a receiver because that's the only thing he could possibly want. The line's already good. You run the ball well. You've already got Mark Andrews. You put Quentin Johnston on the opposite side of Odell Beckham Jr. You still have Rashad Bateman. Now you have a receiving core that's pretty talented, and they're very multiple because all three of them can play more than one spot in line. I really don't see how they don't take a receiver. I know Stephen Tao prefers Zay Flowers, and frankly, I understand that. But don't be shocked if Quentin Johnston falls right in their lap.
At number 23, the Minnesota Vikings.
This is where it gets fun.
They will not miss the pick like we've seen happen in past drafts.
That was a long time
But
ago.
it will take forever for them to decide this, I believe, because they just don't know how your fan base is going to react when they hear. With the 23rd overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Hendon Hooker, quarterback, Tennessee.
How many times have I told you Hooker's going to go in the back end of round one?
I've heard it several times.
I will tell you right now, the loudest smoke is attaching them to Anthony Richardson. I don't think they're coming up that far. I don't think they're coming up at all. Minnesota is on record basically as saying they would like to have a young quarterback on the roster. This could be the last year of Kirk Cousins. And Hendon Hooker is a nice fit for what it is that Kevin O'Connell wants to do. You start reading tea leaves and you go, okay, well, there's only one team in the back 10 picks of without somebody trading up, which I'm not saying that a team couldn't do that. I'm just really struggling to figure out who that is. All right, so everybody's dead set that's how it's going to go. Outside of Seattle, who's going to do that? Or does it make more sense that Minnesota, who has basically been letting it be known that they're looking to the future, and this is a quarterback that fits. He's ready to play right now. He's 25 years old. I mean, do I have him as a first-round pick? No, I don't. I think on my big board he was 57 or something like that. But quarterbacks go higher because it's such a value position.
Right. Could be a head scratcher here. If this is the pick, what do you think he's best at in the NFL?
Hendon Hooker in the right offense, when he's on rhythm, he's almost like a three-point shooter in basketball. When he's on rhythm, I mean, he's got tape that is high level. I have two gigantic problems with him. One, his best tape came when he was 5 years older than a slew of the guys he was playing against. And the latter part of that is his best tape came when he was in an offense that schemed open receivers, and he's going to have 3 drafted. Can that cover up some deficiencies? It can. But then again, I look at Minnesota and go, are you going to be competitive for Caleb Williams or Drake May next year? No. You've already boo-boo kittied the Kellen Mond thing because you switched front offices, you switched coaching staffs, and they had no value in him whatsoever. Well, I feel like Kevin O'Connell's pretty entrenched. So you let him go get his guy. And I won't be shocked if he's really high on Hendon Hooker because of how well he fits into what they do.
At number 24, the Jacksonville Jaguars. There you go. That's what I was waiting on. You always want to do it for the other kitty cats and not them. The Jacksonville Jaguars at number 24 could select Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida.
There are no receivers left because there is not one that you can take here that makes any form of sense. I don't think any of the corners that would go here really fit what you do. That's what I've been told is they want another bigger corner, which is why I have them taking Keely Ringo in the second round. And I look at Osiris Torrance and go, you have a big problem at guard. You could not run a greasy peg up the keister of a kitty cat last year. this guy's going to help that immediately. And now your offense is more balanced. I feel like there's this misnomer that he can't pass block. That's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
He's a better run blocker.
Right, it's just not what he's best at.
And I think he will get better in time. And now this is the first spot that I really feel the urge to bring up Peter Skoronski, because this is a spot, if they view him as a guard, depending on what they're after, they could decide to take him as opposed to Osiris Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot find a team that loves him. I cannot find a team that rates him higher as a guard than Osiris Torrance. But Jacksonville could be. And if they are, then this is a spot that fits for him. But to me, for what Jacksonville needs, there may not be a better fit in this draft, regardless of position. Because I feel like you're going to slide him in between Luke Fortner, in between Cam Robinson, and now I have that gigantic run-pulling guard that I can run behind.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were times that you couldn't move the ball if it didn't involve Trevor Lawrence.
And plugging that hole makes this line very formidable.
And if
Brandon Scherf stays healthy,
if Scherf is healthy, that
right.
line is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You will not miss a beat without Jawan Taylor. And I know it's not sexy, and I know it's not what you necessarily want to come away from it with. It's the best fit for your team. And that's where I'm at. You got a really young defense. I don't necessarily want to add another young piece to that. I want to add a finishing piece to your offense.
You are in the Sportsocracy. This is ESPN Asheville on Draftmas Day. We are celebrating with the final mock draft. Don't forget to join us live for the draft tonight at 51 North Merriman Avenue. We'll be live at the Village Porch and, of course, streaming on YouTube. Coming up next, we'll continue here. Number 25 with the New York Giants.
The Sportsocracy.
Why are you smiling?
Because I love football.
We are back in the Ingles studio on ESPN Asheville. We're just moments away, it feels like, from the start of the 2023 NFL Draft.
The presents are wrapped. They're under the drafty tree, and it's time to unwrap all of our Draftmas presents.
Is the Draftmas tree going to make an appearance at the bar?
I don't know if it'll make an appearance at the bar. It can certainly make an appearance at my house. I think it's at my house. I just don't know where.
I feel like there needs to be the moment where we all gather around the Draftmas tree.
Sing Draftmas carols?
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Exactly. We are in the midst of the final Flostradamus mock draft. First round tonight. You could join us down at the Village Porch, 51 North Merriman Avenue. Of course, we'll be streaming on YouTube. We've worked our way to the number 25 pick, and it belongs to the New York Football Giants. And with the pick, they will select Deonte Banks, cornerback from Maryland.
The Giants just kind of get housed here that all the receivers are gone. I know they've been hot on this kid pretty much through the entire process. And the thought is that with he and Adoree Jackson, Cordell Flott in the slot, Darnay Holmes, now you have a secondary that nobody will ever outrun. I don't care if you come up against the Miami Dolphins. It doesn't matter because I got two corners that can run with anybody. And, I mean, the Giants are a team that I think we do have to acknowledge that a trade-up is entirely possible if there's somebody they're in love with. I think this is all smoke that they could possibly take a tight end. I was on that, then I came off of it. Now it seems to be one of those Draftmas week rumors, which I always trust about as much as knowing things about the Clintons.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's going to happen. But if they really like Michael Mayer, don't be shocked if they try to keep him away from Dallas, because he is not getting past the Dallas Cowboys.
So he comes in and is immediate day one starter as
He's two.
He's
He's the second outside corner. Look, the tape on him's really good. And then he has the just outrageous combine workout, and that shot him up boards. I don't see a way we don't hear his name tonight. Every year there are guys that going into day two, you can't believe that they have somehow found a way to not be picked. And if he was one of them, I would be dumbfounded. I know Minnesota's in on him. I know the Giants are in on him. The Jaguars had him in. There's just too many teams in that last 10 picks of tonight. I can't see him making it out.
Number 26 Dallas Cowboys on the clock.
This may be the most consistent pick I've made throughout the entire draftness process.
With the 26th pick, the Dallas Cowboys select Michael Mayer, the tight end out of Notre Dame.
A lot has been made of, he didn't run that fast, and he's not going to be a speed burner. No, he's just an all-around tight end. Really good blocker. I mean, he's been the best tight end in this class. And then we did that thing that we do, and Dalton Kincaid is faster, and Dalton Kincaid's more of a modern-day NFL tight end. He's not better. He's going to go higher, but he's not better.
Mm-hmm. And
you put Mayer in the middle of this offense with CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup. Oh, and by the way, you got Tony Pollard coming out of the backfield. So it's just really dynamic. I like what they've done with the line. And low-key, this is what the Dallas Cowboys do. Since Jerry Jones stopped being as hands-on and started letting Steven do things, it's shocking how many times you see CeeDee Lamb fall. And the night of that draft, we're going, who is finally going to stop the the fall stops with the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they're going to do here. He will be the highest-rated player on my top 100 with our YouTube coverage tonight. I guarantee you his name is going to be on the top of that board for at least 10 picks.
Right.
Unless Peter Skoronski keeps falling like he is in this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of baffling to me that he has fallen to this point. But it's a faster league. People get intoxicated by the speed.
Hey, well, because you've got Brock Bowers next year. You had Kyle Pitts a couple years ago. And no, he's not going to put up the unbelievable combine workout. He's just big-bodied with good hands. He goes over the middle. There's no fear there. And he's not a liability as a blocker.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very Mike McCarthy player. They let Dalton Schultz walk. You know why? Because he couldn't block a 6-year-old. Michael Mayer has no such problems.
Number 27. The Buffalo Bills have the pick here, and, what do they decide to do? That is, do they take a running back? Do they go safer than that? Anton Harrison, tackle from Oklahoma.
This is, to me, the last, no doubt, left tackle. Now, I think his floor is pretty safe. I think his ceiling is pretty safe. I just don't necessarily know that he has the upside. And I look at where Buffalo is. You did not make it to the AFC Championship game last year because you couldn't keep Cincinnati out of your backfield. So I considered Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs and James Cook are kind of a hat on a hat. I don't really know how they would work together. If there was no James Cook, it would be Jahmyr Gibbs, and I wouldn't think a second thing about it. Because he would become the pass-catching back. He's the more do-everything Austin Eckler type. I considered edge rushers here. They brought in a good number of those on top 30 visits. But I just kept coming back to this line is broken. And you've done a really poor job of drafting it. I would like to have a corner too, but I feel like you hit a couple of those guys. Not necessarily hit them, just you've got young guys in the building. I feel like one of them can be a 2. I'm looking for a bounce-back year from Tre'Davious White. You've still got the 2 safeties back behind. I considered a linebacker here, too. Don't be shocked if this is where you see Jack Campbell come off the board.
Okay.
Everybody and their brother has told me, he's going to go in the first round. Weird. None of you are betting it that way, which makes me think you're lying to me.
Look, the offensive line was the undoing of the Buffalo Bills last year.
If you go into this year again with the same protection problems, I just want you to think about what you have to deal with in your own division. The Miami Dolphins are better, and the offense is going to score points at will. I don't care how good your defense is. The Jets are going to score points really easily. Oh, and by the way, they have probably the best corner tandem in the league, and they get after the quarterback. So, and then I didn't even mention New England, who's been the best defensive team in this division for, 2 decades? It hasn't been as overly impressive. I think they're going to do a lot over the course of the next 3 days to add to that defense. I don't feel like you can go – I don't feel like you can come away from tonight, if you're Buffalo, without having at least a solution.
I would agree. The running back pick, while it might be the sexiest thing that you could do at 28 – or, at 27 – it's not the best idea for you moving forward.
You know who never walks away from a draft with sexy? The Kansas City Chiefs were never sexy, ever. The Patriots weren't sexy with Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
I think we worry too much about, well, it's not sexy. The fans won't like. You know what the fans like? Winning. Go win.
Yep.
And I think Anton Harrison will help. Played 96% of his snaps at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could have an adjustment to the right side, but that's where he starts and ultimately ends up on the left.
The number 28 pick, that belongs to the Cincinnati Bengals. And they could add Jahmyr Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama.
There's a lot of heat to this Joe Mixon
As there
thing.
should be.
That they want to move on, that the off the field things and the money, and even if you stick with him for a year, you're gonna need a long-term solution. Mm-hmm. Losing Samaje Perine, it takes away an element of this offense. I think this gives you another pass catcher. He's one of the best running backs out of the backfield that I've frankly ever seen. I think he can come in and play that Austin Eckler type role where, yes, he lines up in the backfield. Yes, he can run between the tackles. It's not necessarily what he does best. I think what he does best is catch passes and be an unbelievable matchup nightmare. And you add that to T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, and yeah, it's going to be just hunky-dunky.
But he's got the nose for the hole, and he's got the breakaway speed to make you pay for it.
He's a phenomenal player. I mean, just straight up, he is a phenomenal player.
Mm-hmm.
And he's another one that I get told he's going tonight. Yeah, there have been probably 10 guys, and they're all but one in the back end of this first round that I've been told by people that are really smart in this industry, you better find a place for them to land.
Yep.
And Jahmyr Gibbs is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Buffalo, Dallas, Cincinnati.
I don't see Dallas. I really don't.
Really?
No, because him and Tony Pollard together, I don't really see which one of you is going to run between the tackles. You both do too much of the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not – and maybe I'm too locked in on Michael Mayer for Dallas. That's entirely possible. But I just feel like Jahmyr Gibbs to Cincinnati is one of those things that it makes so much sense that it probably doesn't happen, and they end up doing something. They take Darnell Washington here. And I just walk away and go, who in the world thought they were going to do that? I've seen that in mock draft. Makes no sense whatsoever.
Cincinnati Bengals taking the running back Jahmyr Gibbs, the eventual replacement or would be to Joe Mixon. This is the Sportsocracy, the final Flostradamus mock draft before the big night all starts tonight. Join us at the Village Porch, 51 North Merriman Avenue. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we will close it out for this first round.
The Sportsocracy.
You are a regular nuclear meltdown. You better cool off.
Welcome back into the Sportsocracy. It is the final segment before the live coverage of 2023's NFL Draft.
It's the last three mock picks of Draftmas. We'll be talking about actual picks, actual players with actual teams. It's memories.
Makes you sad.
Like the corners of my mind.
It doesn't matter. You'll have a new mock draft coming out on Monday.
Misty
probably.
watercolor memory. That's a good point. That's a good point you got.
He'll start the 2024 cycle.
Then I get to start on next year's draft.
Indeed.
All right.
All right, 3 picks left in this first round. Final mock draft from at ESPN Draft Nerd Jeremy Green. This is the official submission into the media contest, nationwide contest. See how well he does with the number 29 overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. The New Orleans Saints will select Kalijah Kancey, defensive tackle for Pittsburgh.
Been pretty consistent here too. I don't like the fit with Brian Breeze. I think this is where you have to go because this is an interior edge rusher that will get you. You add him to Cameron Jordan, and now you can get after the quarterback. I feel like he can hold up as a front man in a 4-man front. His high side is probably as the end in a 3-man front, using that pass rush ability, the short, compact frame. Look, and I feel like I have to say this about Kalijah Kancey because I've been a little down on him, and it's not that I'm down on him. I just hate the comparison.
Mm-hmm.
And when people throw Aaron Donald around, it's really annoying to me because you're setting this kid up for failure. Because he could be really good, not be Aaron Donald, and then, well, he never turned into what we thought he would. Well, I mean, if you're a moron, if that's what you think he's going to do, short of being arguably the best defensive player of my lifetime, then yeah, he'll let you down. But I think he's going to be a consistent force. Fits really nicely with New Orleans. And there are other positions that I think they could look at, but the way the board falls, that's the only one that really makes sense to him here.
At number 30, the Philadelphia Eagles on the clock. Pick comes in. And it could be Brian Breeze, the defensive tackle from Clemson.
Speaking of that fella that we were discussing earlier, I think he fits nicer next to Jordan Davis than he does next to, say, Cam Jordan. Because you've got the big space eater. I think Breeze will be more of a pass rusher in the NFL. I think you're going to be a little patient with him. I think my problem with Breeze is that he's so raw because I've seen so little of him. And then you get into that, we'll say it's kerfuffle that I have with Clemson Tiger players.
Mm-hmm.
Because I never get a good beat on them. I never hear the warts. I never hear any of that. It's just all this sunshine and rainbows. They're going to come in and be the greatest player in the NFL. No, he's not. So Philadelphia, to me, this is probably the highest he could go. Vegas really seems to want me to believe he's going in the first round. And you add that to Lucas Van Ness. All right, I'm good here now. And now I can start playing with linebackers. I got the extra picks from Tampa Bay, which I think would be a home run for them because you added 2 high-end prospects that fit for what you do quite nicely because you rotate these players so often. And for me, you're walking away pretty happy if you're Philadelphia.
Number 31. This is the trade from earlier. The Kansas City Chiefs trading up to 20 with the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle falls back to 31. Kansas City got Zay Flowers out of the deal from Boston College. What can Seattle get at number 31? You got them taking another Clemson player, Miles Murphy.
Okay, so this is one of those times that you have to get out your prognostication hat. Seattle is transitioning into the 3-4, all right? You need a nose tackle. I have said this no less than 1,000 times. If you need him to immediately be the guy, I can't take Mozzie Smith. So it sounds a little weird that I've taken 2 edge guys. Will Anderson stands up.
Yep.
Miles Murphy does not.
Mm-hmm. Miles Murphy would be the edge on the outside of the 3-man line.
He would be the replacement for I'm not even going to say replacement. I just think it's a transitional piece between him, Draymond Jones, and Jaron Reed. I know that sounds strange. Seattle has made it a point to say that we are going to rush the passer. There is not a receiver here for them to take. I don't like any of the tight ends to blend with what you have. Is there a possibility you take Peter Skoronski here? Absolutely. That really does not fit in with what you say you want out of your guards. That's the reason I didn't do it. I thought about it with Philadelphia. I'm not sure Philadelphia wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've gotten to this point. I feel like now you're going to rush the passer if you're the Seattle Seahawks. I got Will Anderson coming over the top of Miles Murphy. It might take a year, but you give me a year and we're going to be just hunky-dunky.
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to highlight what happened to Peter Skoronski. Every year a player falls. And every year there's a player that falls and it doesn't make a lick of sense. And that is, in all the years I've been doing this, it's the player that nobody says anything nice about in the 2 weeks leading up to the draft. Do you know I checked the date on this. I get a lot of text messages. I get a lot of emails. Do you know the last time anybody said a kind word about Peter Skoronski to me?
When?
March 24th.
It's been a while.
That was over a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was over a month ago. Now, nobody's saying anything negative. They're just not saying anything. And that, I'll be honest with you, it makes me more nervous than if they were bashing you. If they were bashing you, at least maybe you're trying to float that you're not in on a guy, but you are, and there was some smoke. The worst thing you can be in the NFL draft is forgotten. And I'm not going to say I'm hanging my hat on it, but I'm taking a stab at this. I think Peter Skoronski's going to fall. I don't know if he falls over the second round. I think he's going to fall. And he and Michael Mayer will be the 2 players we're talking about all night long as we cover this draft live from the Village Porch tonight.
I feel like that's a that's a trade situation. Somebody
I do
sees
too.
Peter Skoronsky free falling like that. Somebody's going to get up.
I
and
do
get
too,
him.
but I can't get a read on who it is because, like I said, nobody's talking about him.
Yep. Anyway, him and Brian Branch, those were the two. Those were the
Brian
two that
Branch,
I went.
I just keep hearing he's one of those top 5 of the second round guys.
Yep.
A lot of teams are in like with him, but not in love.
All right, it is in the books, the official media submission of the Sportsocracy, and at ESPN Draft Nerd, Jeremy Green.
And here's what this means. It means it's time. Go get in the car. Drive to 51 North Merriman Avenue. Come watch this draft with us. If you're not here in Asheville, if you can't physically get out there, tune into the YouTube. We have so many things tonight. We're going to unveil our battle for the belt. We'll talk about all the picks. We're going to drink some domestic lights. We're going to have a good old time. And it's 3 days of Draftmas, baby!
That's right, and we will be live from the Village Porch tomorrow afternoon right here on ESPN Asheville and on YouTube at 3 o'clock. We will see you then. Happy Draftmas.
Well, 2 years ago when I was just 20 years old, but let me tell you what happened to me. I had a girl who I truly loved, yeah, we were happy as we could be.